Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start with the prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhurbhavasvaha, Tatsavitra Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Naha Prachodayat, Asto Ma Sadgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityurma Amritam Gamya. Om Sena Bhavatu, Sena Bhunaktu, Saviryam Karvave, Tejasvi Navaditamastu, Ma Vidvishave. Om Shanti 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 Om. Let's open our Uddhava Gita books. We are on page number 246. This is a chapter 8. And we are on verse number 11. And Lord Krishna is saying, Adi Antavant Eva Sham Lokaha Karam Vinimritaha Dukhotkars Tamonishtaha Kshudraha Manda Shuchar Arpitaha. These people obtain the temporary results of their work. Indeed, the meager and miserable situations they achieve simply award them unhappiness because they are based on ignorance. Even while enjoying the fruits of their labor, such persons are constantly filled with lamentation. So, although materialistic people consider the fruits of their karma to be desirable, their lives are based on illusion. And thus they always meet with inner frustration. So because this Maya can never satisfy us, so there's always some kind of a frustration inside, no matter how much you have, no matter how much we do. So those who simply work hard to possess the temporary things of this world, considering them to be all in all, are not actually intelligent because such endeavors keep one in constant anxiety. Material nature is infinitely mutable. Mutable means it keeps on changing. So that no position in this world is permanent. Verse number 12. Mai arpitatmanaha samye nirpeksh sa sarvataha mai atmanaha sukham yat tat kutha syad vishe atmanama. O saintly Uddhava, my all blissful form manifests in the heart of one who has freed himself from all desires for sense gratification. Okay, so just the desire. Again, we don't have to move away from the sense objects. We got to get rid of the desire for the sense objects. So, O saintly Uddhava, my all blissful form manifests in the heart of one who has freed himself from all desires for sense gratification. Otherwise, if the mind is filled with sense gratification, we cannot have the place for the garden there. And who is fully surrendered unto me? The happiness he enjoys in my association cannot be compared to the happiness one experiences by gratification of the senses. The message cannot be clearer than this. Devotional service to the Lord is the actual purport of the Vedas. The Supreme Lord said, my devotees take great pleasure in relishing my transcendental forms and qualities. The Jnanis who make great endeavors to control their mind are not purified, and so they are unable to attain my lotus feet. So that means Jnana alone cannot give you this kind of a oneness. So it's a devotion, bhakti. This is confirmed by Narad Muni. So Narad Muni said, transcendental practices that do not ultimately help one realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead are useless. So Gyan, which does not take us towards bhakti, is useless, according to him. Be they mystic yoga practices, the analytical study of matter, severe austerity, the acceptance of sannyas, or the study of the Vedic literature. So through all this, the ultimate is oneness with God. And oneness can happen only when love is there. And that's what we call bhakti or devotion. All these may be very important aspects of spiritual advancement, but unless one understands the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, all these processes are useless. Okay. My own Guruji used to say that bhakti is the real rasa in a life. Rasa. Those who have realized that this material world is a place of temporary enjoyment and have thus employed all their senses in the service of the Supreme Lord remain situated on the platform of eternal happiness. Since material pleasure cannot entice them, they always remain devoted to the Lord's service. Because we always have a decision to make, to stay close to God or move towards Maya. So he says, these devotees of mine, they're always, they choose to stay with me. Verse number 13. अकिंचनस्य हे दान्तस्य हे शान्तस्य हे समचेतसा मया संतुष्ट मनसः सर्वा सुख मया दिशः. One who does not desire anything of this world and who is peaceful, self-controlled, always equal to everyone, and self-satisfied, finds only happiness wherever he goes. A devotee who's always meditating upon Lord Krishna experiences transcendental sound, touch, form, flavor, and aroma by means of transcendental senses. This is due to the causeless mercy of Lord Krishna, upon whom one's mind and senses are completely engaged. Such a person finds only happiness wherever he goes. When a very wealthy man travels all over the world, wherever he may stay, he will enjoy the same luxurious standard of comfort. Similarly, one who is advanced in Krishna consciousness constantly experiences transcendental happiness because of Lord Krishna is all pervading. The word kinchan indicates the so-called enjoyable things of this world. One who is a kinchan has correctly understood that material sense gratification is simply the glare of illusion. And therefore, such a person is dantasya or self-controlled, shantasya or peaceful, and maya santushta mansaha or completely satisfied with his transcendental experience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Those who are capable of controlling their senses, who are not bewildered by material desires, who do not consider anyone as inferior to them, who are always satisfied in whichever condition they are put into by the Supreme Lord, and who have no inclination to possess anything of this material world, can experience happiness everywhere. So they understand the source of happiness is God, and God is with us. God is everywhere. So they are never unhappy. Okay, we have to look at When we feel unhappiness, where is it coming from? What is the source of it? We can always connect ourselves with the happiness this way. In this regard, one should carefully consider this verse from Shri Chaitanya Chandramrita by Prabodhanand Saraswati. For those who have attained the merciful sidelong glance of Lord Chaitanya, impersonal liberation becomes as palatable as going to hell. The heavenly cities of the demigods become as enticing as flowers imagined to be floating in the sky. The poisonous fangs of the untamable black snakes of the senses are broken. The whole world becomes full of joy, and Brahma, Indra, and all the other great demigods become as insignificant as tiny insects. Let us glorify that golden complexioned Lord Chaitanya. Next verse, verse number 14. Na parmeshyam na mahendra dinshnyam na sarvabhaumam na rasadhipatyam na yoga siddhir apurvam bhavam va madhye aparpta mechiti madvinayat. A pure devotee whose life is dedicated to me has no desire for even the position of Brahma or Indra. And so, what to speak of becoming a lord of this world or of the lower planets? So, for this kind of a devotee, the goal is just one, being at the feet of the beloved. He is not interested in achieving the perfections of mystic yoga or even liberation from the cycle of birth and death, because his life is simply dedicated to me. The Supreme Lord said, one who is surrendered to me does not want the position of Brahma, nor the happiness merging into the existence of Brahma. See, that is moksha, mukti. As one surrenders unto me, I reward him accordingly. From this statement of mine, one can understand how my thoughts remain absorbed in my devotees. A devotee who desires nothing other than me lives in my association and thus relishes transcendental mallows. So it's like a Jivan Mukta, always feeling the oneness with God. The pure devotee of the Lord has no desire other than to render devotional service. Wants to just be the sevak. So just like a Hanumanji, sevak. He does not cherish anything else, not even the position of Brahma or Indra, the domain of the whole world, sovereignty over the lower planets, material opulence, the 8 types of mystic perfections, or freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Verse number 15. न तथा मे प्रियतम आत्म योनिर न शंकर न च संकर्षण हो न श्री नैव आत्मा च यथा भगवान. My dear Uddhava, neither Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Sankarshan, the goddess of fortune, nor even my own self is as dear to me as you are. Because Uddhava is a devotee. So Lord is declaring very clearly that my devotees are so dear to me, there's nothing compared to it. If someone were to ask the Lord, how dear is your devotee to you? The reply is given in this verse. The Lord says, Brahma is my son, Shankar is my expansion and my friend, Sankarshan is my brother, and Lakshmi Devi is my wife, and yet none of them, and not even my own self, is as dear to me as you are. My dear Uddhav, you are my devotee, and so you are most dear to me. This is also confirmed by Sridhar Swami. Although personalities like Brahma are also the Lord's devotees, they are placed in responsible positions and thus are not exactly like the fully surrendered devotees. The Lord gives preference to a helpless devotee, who depends completely on his mercy. The only way to obtain the Lord's mercy is through his causeless love. And the Lord is most lovingly inclined toward those devotees who are most dependent on him. Just as ordinary mothers and fathers worry more about their helpless children than about those who are self sufficient. Because personalities like Brahma have a sense of their unique identity and position, they had not been addressed here as devotees. This is not the case with personalities like Nanda and Yashoda. Although they were parents of the Supreme Lord, they acted as his great devotees and thus were very dear to him. In his pastimes, we invariably see that the Lord is fully controlled by his devotees. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. What it says over there, the Supreme Lord, who can award liberation to anyone, showed more mercy toward the gopis than to Lord Brahma. And there's a beautiful story in Bhagavatam about that. Lord Shiva, or even the goddess of fortune, who is his own wife and is associated with his body. It may appear from this verse that among all the devotees, Uddhava is the best, but the gopis are even superior to Uddhava. The dust from the lotus feet of gopis is even superior to the gopis themselves. And so that is what Shri Uddhava had hoped to receive. This is in the Vaishnava conclusion. Pure devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are most dear to him, even more than personalities like Brahma, Shiva, Sankarshan, and Lakshmi. So we should, from here, we should just try to be a devotee, the real devotee, not just for the namesake, the devotee where our love is always just for him. That's it. Always. Verse number 16. Nirpeksham munim shantam nirvairam samdarshanam anuvrajam aham nityam uyeyatye ankire renubi. Thinking that I will purify the entire universe with the dust from their lotus feet, I always follow in the footstep of my devotees, who are free from material desires, wrapped in thought of my pastimes, peaceful, non-envious, and equal to all living entities. So some of the qualities of a devotee he is mentioning over here. Lord Krishna is the all-powerful creator of the universe, beyond the dualities of material existence. And thus for him there is no conception of purity or impurity. Still it has been seen that sometimes the Lord desires to take the dust of the lotus feet of his pure devotees upon his head. It is the statement of the scriptures that without receiving the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotees, one cannot attain the perfection of liberation from material existence. Lord Krishna considered, I have made it the rule that one can experience transcendental happiness only as a result advancement in devotional service, which is achieved by receiving the dust of the lotus feet of my devotees. Because I also desire to experience transcendental ecstasy, I accept the dust of my devotees' lotus feet. This is the purport of this verse. The Supreme Personality of Godhead sends his devotees into this world of material enjoyment for the benefit of the fallen, conditioned souls. By observing the external behavior of the devotees, it is seen that they are detached, introspective, peaceful, friendly, and equipoised. The devotees of the Lord never engage in idle talks. They are the friends of all living entities, and they are equal to everyone. However, non-devotees cannot understand the plans and activities of the pure devotees. So you have to be a devotee to understand another devotee. Otherwise, we keep on judging why that person is doing this or that. Okay. So verse number 17. Nishkanchnaha mai anurakta chetasaha shanta mahanto khil jeev vatsala kamer analabdha dhiyo jushanti te yan nirpeksham na vidu sukham mama. Those with no material possessions, who are peaceful, free from pride, affectionate to all living entities, and have no desire for personal gratification, and who serve me with undivided attention, enjoy in me a happiness that cannot be known by those lacking with detachment from the material world. So more qualities of a devotee he is giving over here. The happiness which is derived by realizing the transcendental qualities of the Lord while performing devotional service is being described here. Some experts say that jnanis who have no material assets can also attain this platform of transcendental ecstasy. That is why the Lord has made this statement, just to distinguish the devotees from such jnanis. Pure devotees always desire to give Christian consciousness happiness to others. And therefore they are called Mahanta, or great souls. In the course of a devotee's service, many opportunities for sense gratification may arise, but a pure devotee is not tempted. And so he does not fall down from his exalted transcendental position. Okay, so Maya will put all those allures in front of the devotee, but devotee does not go towards the Maya, because devotee's love is only one, the Lord himself. Sense enjoyers are always bewildered by unlimited desires for personal aggrandizement, and so they are unable to comprehend the sublime position of the pure devotees. The devotees of the Lord are free from material desires, and so they are peaceful. Otherwise, the material desires, the more material desires we have, the more anxiety we have, more disturbance we have in our mind. So peace comes from no desires. They don't strive for material acquisitions, and they are the best well-wishers of people in general. So there's no competition between others either. They're happy in the happiness of others because they see the sameness in everybody. Because the devotees are merged in the ocean of transcendental happiness derived by engagement in pure devotional service, they can never be diverted by mundane temptations. Because they are situated on the platform of spiritual bliss, they are detached from the bodily conception of life, and thus even a learned materialist cannot understand their sublime position. Okay, so ordinary people don't understand the state of their mind, that how they are connected and how much happiness and the peace they are receiving from that relationship. Number 18. Badhyamano api madbhakto vishyer ajitendriya prayah pragatamyah bhaktyah vishyanar na vibhuyate. My dear Uddhava, if my devotee is not fully able to control his senses, he may sometimes be attracted to material enjoyment. But because of his engagement in devotional service, he will not be diverted by sense gratification. So that means sometimes may slip here and there, but will come back. Will come back. The Lord said, what to speak of those devotees who have attained the platform of Rati? Even neophyte devotees are assured of success. The neophyte devotee may sometimes be attracted to material enjoyment, but because of the strength of his sincere devotional service, he will not fall down from his exalted position. If a jnani commits a sinful activities, he immediately falls from his elevated position. A devotee, however, even though immature, never falls from the path of devotional service. Even if he displays occasional weakness, he is still considered a devotee if his devotion to Lord Krishna is very strong. This is confirmed by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita. From chapter 9, verse number 30, he says, even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. See? It's like a api chet su durachara. Okay? Durachara. So something has happened which is not as noble, but Bhagat will bounce back, will realizes what my goal is. In this regard, two examples can be given. Sometimes a heroic warrior is struck by the enemy's powerful weapon, but while simply tolerating the pain, he goes on to achieve victory. In the same way, one may be afflicted by a serious disease, but can be cured by taking the prescribed medicine. For the benefit of neophyte devotees who cannot fully control their senses, the Supreme Lord said, even though a devotee could not control his senses and thus remains attached to sense gratification, if he wants to advance in devotional service to me and thus enthusiastically engages in sadhana bhakti, so that he may gradually come to the platform of bhav bhakti. You remember we have talked about in other classes different stages of bhakti. So the sadhana bhakti means you are doing the sadhana, but ultimately it becomes a bhav bhakti. Sentiments. He will never meet with defeat. यथा अग्ने सुसमृद्धा अर्ची करोते एधांसि भस्मात् तथा मद्विष्या भक्तिर उद्धवनांसि कृत sarshasha. O Uddhava, just as a blazing fire burns firewood to ashes, devotional service executed for my pleasure completely destroys the sinful reactions of my devotees. If a devotee fails to control his senses and accidentally engages in sinful activities, the Lord will certainly burn to ashes all his sinful reactions. Just as a blazing fire reduces wood to a pile of ashes. This is the assurance he is giving it to us. Stay as a devotee, stay close to God. Mentally, keep on doing the sadhana. Sometimes here and there we might slip. It could be sometimes because of the prarabdha or the time of the place. But we got to stick to our sadhana. Then he says, I protect you. We will bounce back and be on the right path towards me. As long as we are intoxicated by material enjoyment, our propensity for serving the Supreme Lord is like smoldering ashes. But the moment our service attitude becomes prominent, our material inclinations are destroyed, just as a blazing fire burns wood to ashes. Lord Krishna is glorious. and one who takes exclusive shelter of the Lord receives the unique benefits of devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Verse number 20. Na sadhyati mam yogo na sankyam dharma uddhav na swadhyayas tapas tyago yatha bhaktir mamurjataha. My dear Uddhav, neither through Ashtanga Yoga nor through impersonal monism or an analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through study of the Vedas, nor through austerities, charity, or acceptance of sannyas, one satisfy me as much as by developing unalloyed devotional service unto me. So he has made it very easy. The path of bhakti is actually easy. Okay? We don't have to go through so much hardship. All we have to do is just turn our mind, which is running towards the Maya, so bring it at the feet of God. Devotional service is the only means by which one can satisfy the Supreme Lord. One may make Krishna the goal of mystic yoga, Sankhya philosophy, and so on, yet such activities do not please the Lord as much as direct, loving service, which one practices by hearing and chanting about the Lord and executing his mission. A devotee should simply depend on Krishna and should not unnecessarily complicate his loving service with tendencies toward fruitive work or mental speculation. Many people think that they can achieve great benefit by studying the Vedas, by performing austerities, by renouncing material enjoyment, by cultivating Sankhya philosophy, and by study of the Vedanta. However, all of these practices are not required for engagement in the service of the Supreme Lord. Only unalloyed devotional service is capable of satisfying the Supreme Personality God. See, all those other means, they prepare us. They are not unnecessary. Just like learning alphabet was not unnecessary, or learning the tables or the basic math, it was not unnecessary. We needed that. So those means are needed, but the goal is to become one with God. So that is the message we should take. We should not think that, no, he is telling us that Krishna is the only thing. No. The whole world is enjoying the name of Lord Ram right now. So there's no difference. We can substitute the name love for Ram. There's no difference between Ram and Krishna or Shiva or your Guru. So we should always keep that in mind. Okay, because this book is written by, especially the commentary and the purport, by the Christian devotee. So that's why you see, and especially Bhagavad Puran is a Vishnu Puran. So Lord Krishna's stories in there, and especially this dialogue is between Lord Krishna and Uddhava. Okay, so don't think that a devotee of Ram cannot have this kind of a devotion to Lord. Doesn't matter. Forms can be many. God is one. Always keep that in mind. Otherwise, we get this material mind gets confused very easily. Okay. Verse number 21. Bhaktyaham ekyaha grahya shraddhyatma priyasatam bhakti punati manishtaha swapakan api sambhavat. This is verse number 21. Being very dear to the devotees and sadhus, I am attained through unflinching faith and devotional service. So unflinching faith, that is ananyabhava. This bhakti yoga system, which gradually increases attachment for, that is to say, everyone can be elevated to the spiritual platform by the process of bhakti yoga. Okay? so that no one will have any doubt about the best process for attaining the goal of life. The Supreme Lord says, I am only obtained by devotional service and not by any other processes such as yoga, etc. Although the goal of Brahma, attained by means of Gyan, is found in the Shastras, it is to be understood that such cultivation of knowledge must be mixed with the devotional service. Pious activities, such as the cultivation of knowledge, cannot help one achieve the Supreme Lord. They can only destroy one's sinful reactions. Devotional service destroys sinful reaction in a way that other processes, such as Gyan, cannot. In this regard, Sridhar Swami has concluded that devotional service to the Supreme Lord automatically destroys the fault of taking birth in a family of dog eaters and completely purifies one. So dog eaters over here means the meat eaters. Okay. The propensity for material enjoyment among those who are very fond of eating dogs is so strong that they have very little faith in the service of the Supreme Lord. Devotees of the Lord are not interested in eating the abominable food. They give up all varieties of sense gratification and attract the attention of the Supreme Lord by remaining completely dependent upon Him. The devotees love the Supreme Lord as their most dear friend, and as such, the Lord takes pleasure in their devotional activities. Simply by developing the propensity for rendering devotional service to the Lord, the people of this world who are now engaged in acts of sense gratification can become liberated from their material conceptions of life. Let's do one more verse and we'll stop today's class. Verse number 22. Dharmaha satye deyopeto vidyava tapasvinta mad bhaktyaha pitam atmanam na samyak prapunati. Truthfulness, compassion, and knowledge cannot completely purify a person who is bereft of devotional service to you. Even though following religious principles and cultivating knowledge have the power of destroying one's sinful reactions, this is to be understood as true when such activities are combined with devotional service to the Lord. Okay? So the rasa of the bhakti has to be in our life to get benefit from everything else. Without devotional service, these activities have very little strength. The word vidya in this verse refers to the cultivation of knowledge. Truthfulness, trying to remove others' distress, giving in charity, performing austerities, and practicing renunciation cannot thoroughly purify one's existence. They purify one to some extent, but the seed of material desires remains, so that after some time one will again return to a life of sense gratification. However, because service to the Supreme Lord is the ultimate religious principle, it is also the topmost purifying agent. So we'll start next week's class with verse number 23 of this chapter 8. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.